So please hear me. Oh, here we go. It's overflow. I don't really know what tone, 'cause I'm a restless soul. Oh, here we go. It's overflow. I don't know where to go. Yeah, my hopeless soul. Oh, here we go. It's overflow. I don't really know what tone, 'cause I'm a restless soul. Oh, here we go. It's overflow. I don't know where to go. Yeah, my hopeless soul.
So I got a message on social media letting me know that there was some debris here at Admiralty Park Beach. So I stood up an event on Facebook, invited a bunch of friends to meet me here after work, and we dove for debris. I mean, the ocean connects us all. To me, it's one big blue ocean. Ultimately, if I throw a piece of trash or a piece of trash ends up in the ocean, it could float anywhere. And in fact, most of the debris that washes up in Bermuda is long-range foreign trash that has come from anywhere as far as West Africa or even Japan. Everything just swirls around and ends up on our shores. So we're all connected, whether we recognize it or not. Documenting all the work that we do is very, very important. And taking photographs and shooting video and even going live during these exercises is such a phenomenal thing because it opens up to the world the effort that we're doing. And in fact, most of the time we catalog the debris that we catch and put that into an online database. And just TBI facilitates all of that, whether it's going live on site, taking photographs and creating an album on Facebook, or posting all of our photographs to Instagram. It's just valuable, and having the internet opens up what we're doing to the world. My name is Weldon Wade. I'm a diver, educator, and advocate for ocean sustainability.
Wow. I think we're here. Are we here? This is it. Guys, it is Wednesday, March 16th. I had to double check. Gosh, the days have been blended together. I am doing well. Thank you for asking. Hi, my name is Weldon Wade, and I'm your co-host of the Wade in the Water show. And I'd love to introduce my co-host, Jess. How are you?
I am doing good. I'm so excited for the season finale of season 2. I can't believe it's already here. Like, how are we already 10 episodes in?
Crazy, crazy. Guys, you are tuned in to the season finale of the Wade in the Water show. It's been a tremendous run, 10 consecutive weeks for a second time right here. And shout out to all 35 of you that are tuned in to this live. You could be anywhere tonight, but you have chosen to hang out with Jess and I once again. And if you're listening to this on podcast or watching us on replay, thank you so much for tuning in. Before we get into tonight's show, tonight's topic, our trivia, our tip, and our friend to follow of the week, Jess, I'm going to run our intro.
All right.
Boom. Season 2, episode 10, our season finale. You probably already have an idea of the title. If you click on it, should be somewhere either in Facebook or on YouTube. Season 2, episode 10, Saving Sea Turtles and More. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have Cody Macon backstage. I see him. I hear him. We did a sound check. He's excited. We're excited to have him back to talk about more about saving sea turtles. And the more, I added that because in one way or another, we all are all working either professionally or recreationally to ultimately do what we can to save our planet, to save our blue planet in our own ways, whether it is scuba diving or not. You don't have to get wet in order to do your part. But before we get into that, guys, just want to make sure our audio is good, our video is good. You can see and hear Jess well, and salute to all of our our viewership and our followership that have helped us get to this point. Shout out certainly to all of our sponsors, certainly Bermuda International, Blue Wave, and our supporting our supporters, really, our current vehicles, Mammoth Lakes, Texas, Ubervida, Satronics, Atlantic Mooring Maintenance Limited. All you guys are awesome. So we like to start out the show. I mean, typically, we just like to thank everybody. So all the diving instructors, explorers, all the mermaids, photographers, ocean content creators across the planet, swimmers, divers, snorkelers, scuba divers, technical divers, commercial divers. So you're locked into the show. Again, before we just get into this and even talk about season 3 and all the exciting things we have going on there, I just wanted to kind of bring up something really cool. And it's really how Jess and I met. We met at the Lionfish Invitational, hosted by Noah, right, Jess? Can you help me out with that? I'm not. Who was the host? The actual.
So there's I believe the Lionfish Invitational now has its own nonprofit. Before it was hosted by throughout different years, it's been hosted by various lionfish nonprofit groups. Okay. And I believe the one that we went on together was the Lionfish University. But correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure they were the ones who
Lionfish Patrol? Was it Lionfish Patrol?
No, I think it was Lionfish University or maybe Coast Watch Alliance. I can't remember.
Right.
But yeah, so, and then obviously the wonderful people at NOAA and the Flower Garden Banks National Marine Sanctuary, some of their staff members are out. You guys tuned in to the season finale. I think it was the season finale of season 1. We had Kelly Drennan from NOAA who was on the boat with us. She's always fantastic to have on because she is a excellent resource at the Flower Garden Banks and a wonderful diver and dive buddy.
Indeed. Yeah. So we, Jess and I both got an email from Rachel Bowman, who's leading that in some capacity. And shout out to Rachel. You are awesome. She let us know, everybody on the mailing list know that the Lionfish Invitational for 2022 is taking place this June. So as far as I remember from the email I read just a few minutes ago, got a bit of a short-term memory kind of thing going on. The scientific side of things is full. So the fleet or the people on the boat, it's made up of half scientific divers and half lionfish colors. So if you're interested, just reach out to Jess or I, or just Google Lionfish Invitational and you'll get some information to see, if you're keen to get on board the MV Fling and go cull lionfish in the Flower Gardens Marine Sanctuary in the Gulf. Yeah, we'll meet in Texas and jump on the Fling and go into the ocean, which is pretty dope. The second thing I want to bring up real quick is my weekend. This mic is acting funky tonight. It's just kind of in the way. Because my buddy, shout out to you, Keenan. Keenan is a very avid podcaster and does all this stuff, and he's the one that inspired me to really do a lot of the stuff that you've seen me do for the last few weeks. So shout out to you, brother. We've been friends since our first day in primary school. The first day we met, primary 1, day 1, his mom dropped him off. And he made his way to one of the big slides. It's not big now. It was big when we were 5. And he looked at the top of the slide, and it was me at the top of the slide making cat hissing noises and sticking out my tongue. And he started crying. And I was like, we're going to be best friends forever because of this thing we just had, right? Either way, I don't really know why I brought that up. I need to think about why I brought that up. But I host Airbnb experiences. So while I certainly have a full-time job and I wear many hats, I allow the community, Jess and Cody and guests, to book time with me and spend half a day on a good day, hopefully, with me exploring Bermuda in a very unique and intimate, custom way. Every experience I've ever done has never been exactly the same. You never know what the weather's going to do, and you never know what the individual or couple or group want to do. Maybe they're avid snorkelers. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're into birds. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're afraid of the water and they're more interested in the history and archaeology and whatnot of Bermuda. But this weekend, I had the pleasure of taking out Dr. Carly and her mom. We had a wonderful adventure. And I'm just going to cue up a very quick video of Carly and I doing a little cliff jump off Admiralty Park, which is off Bermuda's North Shore. So let's get the share screen sorted out right here. I'm going to try to share audio. It's just this is raw right out of the GoPro. Let me just change the branding of the back, you guys, real quick on camera background. There we go. All right. We're going to do it.
We're doing it.
The Bermudian in a wetsuit. It is winter in Bermuda, but
we will do a giant stride.
Giant stride. You can't take the diver out of the cliff jumper.
Yeah, so get that away. I'll come here.
This is the middle jump. You've got a big jump, a middle jump, and a baby jump. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Nice.
Shout out to True Dive. So super fun time. Super fun time with Carly and her mom. We spent a couple of days together hanging out, and we did a lot of cliff jumping, cave diving. We jumped in a Twizy, drove around. We had a wonderful weekend together. So thank you so much, Carly. And I think Carly and her mom may be tuned in right now to the show from New Jersey. I see my buddy Keel is back on the live. Good to see you. I think, yeah, I saw you earlier today, Keel. Sorry for not helping you guys load up the truck full of that stuff. I was there to have my lunch. All good, all good. Jess, you got any updates? Any cool news to share on this final episode of season 2?
I'm super excited to talk to you guys a little bit. I'm excited about the Lionfish Invitational. If you guys have any questions about that, let us know. Oh yay, Carly's here.
Carly's
That's
in the house.
awesome.
Shout out to you, Carly.
That's fantastic. And yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff. We're really excited about season 3, and we'll be getting you guys more information on that soon. So this is going to be, I'm very excited for the season finale. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I think so too. And before we jump into the topic, I know Cody's keen to talk more about his subject matter. I want to show Carly and I did make our way to the Deep Blue cave in Walsingham here in Bermuda, and we just did a very quick snorkel. I just want to cue up a bit of that. It's all just raw out of the GoPro, unedited. I'm trying to find the cool part. I mean, it's all cool, but just cool and clear. I got Carly doing some duck diving. We were just being extra careful. Just bring this up. Here we go. Carly doing a swim in the Deep Blue. So it's not an overhead environment, you guys. I know we've got some cave divers probably in the audience. We're not penetrating a cave. We're not on scuba. We're not even free diving. We're just finless, kind of snorkeling around, checking out. Well, you can see it. It's cool. And I'm there just trying to shoot video with some new equipment I got, and making sure that Carly is okay and her mom is up there. We're having some dialogue. Like, are you safe? Are you safe? Either way, it is a beautiful, beautiful cave, and it's a wonderful place to take people. It's pretty spectacular. I've been there during the day. I've been there during the night. It's really, really beautiful. And Carly, how was your experience in the cave? Let us know. You're on the live. We can bring up your comment right in the feed, which is pretty dope. What am I gonna do here? I'm gonna just bring our guest on, you guys. Not yet. We almost lost our flow. I've got a run of show here. I was like, there's something going on. Guys, I'm happy to introduce our new segment before we bring Cody on deck. Every episode, we love to have a trivia of the episode. So we'll do the question in the beginning, the answer in the end, and the tip. Jessica and I will each give you a tip of the episode, and then a friend to follow. I'm happy to go first, Jess, if you need a sec.
Sure.
All right. So my tip for the divers in the room, and this is going to be the newer divers in the room. I'm going to help you guys the most because, once you're experienced, you're kind of on a different type of level. But for you guys just starting out in diving, any diving really, my tip, because I mentioned, find a mentor, a coach, ask questions, and a lot of that we covered in season 1. One of the episodes we had JD on, and I know we did a really deep dive into a lot of that stuff. It's really try on your equipment if you can before you buy, and the genesis of that is really to try to help you save money. Now, to some people watching, it may seem simple. You just go to the big dive shop. They've got everything like a full-on retail store, and you're able to try on your BCD, your wetsuits, your fins, your mask, your snorkel, all your bits and bobs right away, and leave the store with everything you need, and it's all fitted. But in some places, and Bermuda is sort of on the fringe here, we don't have the full-on retail store with all sizes and all shapes and all varieties and flavors of gear. So a lot of times you kind of have to order online and sort of guesstimate. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, here it's a lot more difficult to receive something by courier, which costs a fortune in the first place, get it and it's not the right size, and then you have to send it back, and then things can kind of get a little bit gnarly with the cost. So if you can, and depending on how often you travel, it's really amazing to have the opportunity to try before you buy. And if you happen to be like part of a dive shop or a situation where you're part of a club where you are able to literally put the stuff on and get in a pool before you buy, that's even cooler, which I've never really been able to do because we just don't have that facility here. But I know in Mexico, I did save up some cash, and when I was down there last time, I did buy some new equipment. They had this 2-story retail store that had everything in there. So that's my sort of tip. Try before you buy if you can. If you can't, it's okay. But once you get things dialed in, and I know different manufacturers have the sizing can be a little bit different. Yeah, once you sort of maintain the same sort of body composition, I know I've had so much swizzle and different things over the pandemic. It's been a little bit tough to maintain. Yeah, that's another story, you guys. We don't have enough time for that. And then my trivia is something I'm just speeding right into it. My trivia it taps back into a little bit of what we discussed last week, which had to do with the your scuba cylinder. Again, it's a scuba trivia because maybe majority of you guys are into scuba more, and this is an easy one. You learned this early on, but it's a bit fundamental. And Hollywood does a great job of kind of getting this a little bit wrong. But tell me what the percentage of oxygen is in your scuba tank if you are breathing air. So really easy. What's the percentage of oxygen that's in ambient air?
Right? I like it. I feel like that's
Simple,
a follow-up to last week because we were talking about nitrox last week.
Yeah, we were talking about, you can add more oxygen to your mix to reduce the amount of nitrogen, which leads into a whole nother bunch of stuff, it's all awesome for sure. So ambient air, how much O2 is in that? So hold on. Carly says it was amazing, coolest weekend ever, and Carly gave me like the best review on Airbnb experiences that I've had. So that's amazing. Speeding again right into, and I lost my mouse. My friend to follow is gonna be the guy, as we say in Bermuda, the guy. I'm gonna bring it up right now, add to stream. Guys, please follow my friend and photographer extraordinaire, Nuri Bashir. I'm gonna hide that. Nuri and I know Nuri's family. Like I went to school with some of his siblings. I've known of Nuri for a really, really long time. And he's always been a Bermudian photographer that I've admired for a really long time, but we never had the opportunity to work together until just recently with Travel and Leisure. They wanted to shoot a local segment, and they contracted Burnhouse Productions, which Nuri runs with Andrew Kirkpatrick. And we were able to do a really dope segment for them that's on their channels. I think this was last year or 2 years ago, which was really, really successful. And for those of you guys that know me or don't, or maybe know me but don't know the story, I was actually in a boat fire that June. And the New York office had committed to getting the shoot done. So if you watch the segment carefully, I'm actually still limping around with like gauze on my feet because the wounds just hadn't healed from the boat fire yet. So I had to do scuba dive, like in open wounds, to get the shots, and then like interact and engage with one of the owner chefs down at Wahoo's restaurant while we're like filling 100-pound rockfish to make chowder. We soldiered through, and Nuri was a part of that, and he's an amazing photographer and does really, really dope work. So please follow my boy, Nuri Bashir. That is my friend to follow for the episode, you guys. Thank you so much. I did a lot of talking. My throat's dry. Cody, was that all right? Thumbs up, thumbs down? How are we doing so far? I got a thumbs up. Jess, gosh.
All right. So my tip for this week is going to be lionfish themed, since we were talking about the lionfish invitational earlier. So one of the tips I would recommend that, waiting until you are experienced enough to become a lionfish hunter, make sure that you get the proper training and you're using the proper equipment. But I always like to make sure that I have heat packs with me. That way, if you do get an accidental sting, because they are venomous. So if you get an accidental sting from one of the lionfish, then that way you can use that heat pack. The heat pack helps break down the toxin from. So it's still going to hurt. It's not going to make it not hurt, but it will help break that down because it is temperature sensitive. So it will make it feel a little bit better, a little bit faster. So I do recommend having, especially those nice reusable ones. So that way it's not a single use item. They have those cool ones that you like break to have them start heating up, and then you can, I think you boil them to get them back into their state, their solid state again. So I recommend having a couple of those in your dive bag if you're going to be lionfish hunting. And then, oh, I can't hear you, Weldon.
Just got excited. I was queuing up some surprises. Go ahead.
A little sneak peek, a little bonus. And then for trivia, I wanted to ask you guys, again on the lionfish theme, what was the year that lionfish were first spotted at the Flower Garden Banks? So this one's a little bit tougher, and it's a little bit more Texas-centric, so I apologize if you're not from here, but it'll be a cool way to see because they were first seen in to give you guys a little hint, they were first seen in Florida in the 1980s, I believe. And so they took their time, but that was on the Atlantic side, so it took a little while to come around and then up through and get into the Gulf and then make it all the way over to our side, the western side of the Gulf of Mexico. So that is my trivia question that we'll be giving the answers to at the end of the show. And then, what's that?
No. I was gonna say, like, I got some people in the comments that are answering my trivia, and I'm like, I don't want to put the answers up until the end, but I will shout out to Magic and Keel. And Carly has put up something. Carly says ocean emergency medicine.
Yeah,
Okay.
whenever we're out there, especially places like the flower gardens, it's really important to make sure that you have everything that you need to take care of yourself because you're very far away from shore. So it's not like a quick boat ride back to shore. It's many hours or a helicopter ride. So you want to make sure that you have everything that you need in case there is an emergency. So it's always best to prepare for the worst and plan for the best.
Yeah, be prepared. Now here's a question I have for you, Jess, before we move on. Have you ever been stung by a lionfish?
I haven't yet. I've been very fortunate to have not experienced that particular thing, which it is not on my bucket list. That is my goal, to not get stung by one at any point in time. But I don't know if I'll be that lucky, but I do my best to not. Luckily, I have pre-line fish handling. I have a lot of fish handling skills from my job as a lab manager in a fisheries lab. So I am used to handling fish, but most of the fish, the worst thing you have to worry about are their teeth not getting stabbed. So.
That's so awesome. And Jess, I hear in your voice, there's slightly like a little hint of fear of missing out, little FOMO about not getting stung. I share that. Full disclosure, I get asked all the time, like, have you been stung by lionfish? And when I tell people no, they're like, oh, they're like, you're not hardcore. Like, if you're hardcore, you would have been stung like a dozen times. And I'm like,
man,
no,
you just got skills. You just got skills.
I got skills that, like, no, that doesn't count. So guys, as much, and I certainly don't hunt as many lionfish as I used to. I'm normally the guy behind the camera these days, but in the early days, in the heyday, culling lionfish regularly after work. I just respect the lionfish, and honestly, the stings that I've witnessed were all out of the water. It was friends being stuck, handling them, showing the fish off to people at the beach, emptying them out to count them and sort them, and then putting them back in the containers. So it's quite. Once in Mexico, a guy did get stung at depth, but that's the 1 out of 10 or so that I've witnessed where it's been out of the water, where you're kind of not really paying proper attention. So that's pretty dope.
I was happily surprised because I've handled a lot of lionfish, way more than I've actually caught myself, because I've been at some tournaments. I've volunteered. Yeah, so at a tournament, I've volunteered, and so I was like, all of the fishermen were bringing in the lionfish that they had caught, and we were measuring them and counting them because there's different like prize. Oh my gosh, the Texan came out at me. Did you hear that was a prize? The prize money.
We heard it. Cody heard it too. He's laughing.
It just sneaks out sometimes, y'all. It just happens. But then whenever it's like with your accent, Weldon's every once in a while. But whenever so there was like smallest, largest, the most caught, that type of thing. So we were measuring all of them. So we were handling like way more than what you would handle if you were just dealing with the ones that you had caught yourself. But it was very fortunate, and we use gloves and that type of thing. But yeah, it's one of those like, oh man, I'm just like sticking my hand to like an icy slurry in a ice chest to pull out live fish. I'm like, oh, I hope today's not my day.
Yeah, you ain't gotta catch them to handle them and then potentially get stuck. So
Yeah.
looking forward to having another episode next season dedicated to lionfish, or do like a bit of a series, because there's a lot that we can certainly talk about, and
For
bring in
sure.
people from across the planet that have experience dealing with the lionfish invasion in their backyard. In every country, every state, every area, jurisdiction seems to deal with the invasion differently, and then the lionfish are kind of different too. Their primary prey item differs, as I've come to understand. And there's a lot going on in that space, so we're very keen to bring that to you guys, because we know that you're quite interested in the lionfish stuff as much as we are. But tonight we are talking about saving sea turtles and more with our special guest Cody Macon. We've got Cody backstage. What I'm going to do, Cody, is I'm going to queue up and play your 1 minute and 12-second video first. Yeah, I hope I got an okay. I hope you don't get a copyright strike or anything like that. I think it's on Facebook, so it might be okay. I think we should be fine. My only thing is I'm hoping the audio comes through. So if it doesn't, let me know, and we'll bring Cody on. Cody, you want to come on now? Let's bring, because you've been sitting back. He's been sitting back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're bringing him on. Cody.
Back.
Hey, buddy.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show, man.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
We see you. We hear you.
Meet me. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good to be back. Good to see you both.
Live and direct from, you're in Texas too.
Yeah, Galveston, Texas.
Nice, man. I knew that. I just made it sound like a question just for the audience, but I knew where you were.
Oh yeah.
Here we go, you guys. I'm gonna share this screen and play the clip. And I did a little preview. It looks really nice. Let's go.
Hey everyone, my name is Cody. I work at the Sea Turtle Hospital for the Houston Zoo. We're out here today on Galveston Island to release 5 green sea turtles. These turtles were cold stunned in February. They were brought in by our partners at Texas Parks and Wildlife. They went out in boats in East Matagorda Bay. They found the turtles cold stunned, which means the turtles their body temp gets so low they can no longer swim, and they just float at the surface. They wash ashore. So after the turtles are picked up, they're brought to the Houston Zoo. What we do is we just assess the turtle, we treat it for any injuries, and we slowly warm the turtle back to an acceptable temperature. That's why we're here today. These turtles, they were all treated, they're all healthy and ready to be released, and their water temperatures here on the island are now warm enough for them to go back out to sea. And so we brought them out and let them go. We just want to thank our partners for assisting us in the rehab and the release of these turtles today. And just remember that when you see animals at the zoo, you're helping save animals like this in the wild.
Here we go.
Powerful. See them save them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Cody. And the thing is, like, with temperature dropping, especially with climate change, I'm hearing more about animals in distress because, there are many animals in distress due to climate change, but the turtle specifically. So that video spoke to the water getting so cold, the turtles are like paralyzed.
Yeah, and that's that may have been something that's gone on for a while, but we haven't had turtles here in so long that we haven't noticed it. So our sea turtle population is now getting bigger. The green population is getting bigger, and it really only affects the greens in our area because of the bay system. So those greens, they swim around in the shallow bays, and our bay is pretty huge. And East Matagorda is a very large bay with small entrances. So they go up in the bay, they're feeding on seagrass, and because our weather changes so drastically here in Texas in the winter, like it can be, 80 degrees, 70, 80 degrees one day. We get a cold front come down, and then all of a sudden it's like freezing, or 40 degrees.
Yeah, I was gonna say, give me a temp just for everyone tuned in, because
Yeah.
it's important to understand the thresholds there. So does the sea surface temperature
Yeah. So
change much as well?
yeah. So because of the bays are so shallow, those cold fronts will actually drop the water temperature in the bay pretty quickly. And really, if it's a gradual cooling of the water and we have a more mild winter, the turtles have time to get the hint and leave and head south. So what they'll do is they'll notice it's getting colder.
Right.
They start leaving the bay and they'll head south towards Mexico or warmer waters. And so what happens when we have a cold stun is that the water temp just will drop so quickly because we have cloudy days, so it's already kind of lower or something, and then we have a cold snap where the water temp will drop, air temp drops, and it stays cloudy and rainy for a couple of days usually. So there's no sun to warm it up, and that water just drops pretty dramatically. If you're looking at it on like on a graph, and we have one. I wish I could have brought it on here, but you'll see if it's a steady drop, the turtles are going to be fine.
Okay.
Because they get a hint and they leave. But what we're having is we'll have it dropping and all of a sudden it just dips down and it'll drop maybe 20 degrees at once, like 10, 20 degrees over like 2 days or something. And so when you have that and the strong north winds that blow the water out of our bay, it makes it even more shallow. The turtles, what happens is their body temp drops before they can make it out of the bay system, and they get blown ashore on the back side of the island or somewhere like that. And they just kind of float around. And if they're not picked up, birds will get them, coyotes, stuff like that. Right?
Coyotes.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So
They're good swimmers too. The coyotes can swim straight across the bay. We find them places where you're like, how did you get here? There's no land access, but
Wow.
they're strong swimmers. So it's interesting. Yeah, and here in Texas, like we do, like Cody was saying, when we have these cold fronts, it's not just that all of a sudden it got drastically 20 degrees Fahrenheit colder. It's that a lot of times with these systems, we get these high pressure systems and it'll push all of the water out of the bay. So it'll be like extreme low tide. And so there'll be very, very shallow water and just like lots of mud, like the exposed bay bottom. And so if they're trying to exit, they're not able to get out into the deeper waters and then head south.
Okay, let me just, I'm gonna be like the average Joe out here, and I think with turtles I kind of am. So we've got a turtle that is cold. It's sort of, we called it cold stunned. It's on land. What's gonna predate on it? What's gonna potentially end its life prematurely when it's stranded there? Is it gonna like freeze, or the coyotes so populous that they'll eat the turtle that's kind of just on its belly, or because if they breathe air, they don't need to breathe water. They like, how, I don't even understand or know how long a turtle can be out of the water before something bad happens to it. So I guess I'm thinking, what's its mortality situation when hi puppy.
Hey Red.
What's the chances of it perishing in a situation like that?
Pretty high. So they can be out of the water for a little while, but what happens is when they're that cold, the wind's blowing, the water's there, so they're slightly wet, or they're drying out. So they either dehydrate or they get so cold that their body just completely shuts down.
Wow.
And so when we find them, a lot of times they're in almost a comatose state, to where some of them may not even have their eyes open anymore. But all you have to do is warm them up slowly and give them a little fluid, some hydration, give them some time, and a lot of them will bounce right back. But if they're not found, then birds will pick them off. Like we said, the coyotes, just the elements. We've had turtles come in with frostbite. A lot of them will get frostbite just from.
That's so sad.
Yeah, and
I'm like, really?
Do they have to worry about boat strikes as well? Because if they're just floating on the surface versus swimming, are they more prone to boat strikes?
Yeah, so during this time of year, we do get a lot more boat strikes because they're so slow that they can't really get out of the way. They're just floating around, and so they just get hit. So we see a higher number of boat strikes during the colder months as well, and it's really just from December to basically the beginning, like February, and then so December, February, right now we're just now ending cold stun season, so we shouldn't have any more cold stuns. Hopefully, it's warming up. It's spring.
Yeah, then we get into nesting season.
Yeah, but this
Okay,
so like
turtle
this
calls for
year,
different reasons.
this
that's
year there
good. Like
was
better news, like the cooler side of things versus, the turtles perishing.
yeah. This year we actually picked up. There was like 439 in our state
Wow.
cold stun. The majority of those just needed a little TLC, a little tender loving care, and a little antibiotics, some fluids. A lot of them just needed to be warmed up, and we got them right back out there in some warmer water. A lot of them we drove down south a little ways just to get them in some warmer, like 60-degree-ish water.
Mhm.
That way they could head out and head south to Mexico and live that the sweet life in the warm waters. And
Yeah, the margaritas at Sea
Yeah.
I need to be
Frog.
a turtle. I need to be a sea turtle, and just like in the winter when it gets cold and gross here, like just head down south to Mexico. But I need to be a sea turtle in winter in Mexico.
Goodness, to the Riviera. Yeah,
Yeah.
just definitely get down there quite quickly. I think honestly, guys, that as a kid, I remember recognizing the importance of the variance in water temperature. When my mom got me a fish, goldfish or a Siamese fighting fish, you get it from the aquarium, freshwater fish in the bag. It's just got enough to kind of get it home. And what we do is we put that bag in the aquarium of water and we let the fish season and the temperature climatize. So the fish, if we would have plopped the fish in right away, we were told that it stun the fish and it may actually kill it, because who knows what the temperature is in your home where your aquarium is. Fast forward a few years, if you come to my house, I have an empty 70-gallon saltwater tank in my living room. It's not empty, it's full of toys, but I used to have a saltwater tank in there, and I learned through having a Fowler tank, fish only with live rock tank, that temperature is so important to the fish that I had in there. So it's quite easy when you sort of expand on it, recognizing how sea temperature affects the critters below. But it's wild to hear about the turtles. And I know, different things were happening with storms and the fronts and, reports over the media, like things washing up, frozen, which is pretty wild. But let's talk about the nesting, the eggs and whatnot.
Yeah. And just one last point on that on cold
sure.
stun season for winter. If you're out at the beach during the winter, or if you're in the bay, especially out in the bay if you're fishing and you see turtles just floating at the surface, definitely call that number we put on here last time, the 1-866 turtle 5. Definitely give it a call and let them know where you are, where the turtle was, where you saw it. Even if it's like you saw it kayaking, you didn't have a phone, you go back to your truck, give them a call and just let them know kind of where you were and you saw it, and they'll send some people out and pick them up.
Yeah, we'll try to get that back up in the on the stream in a sec.
Yeah.
I can't help think about how important it is for turtles to have the ability to get out of the way with respect to boat strikes. Green turtles are super popular here in Bermuda, and you can't leave most bays without kind of seeing one pop up, or as you're going underway, you'll see it, and if it's in your path, you will see the thing flee quite quickly to get out of the way. I can imagine, if the turtle's too cold to even move its little flippers, that definitely more prone to strikes, which is unfortunate. So I can only imagine.
Yeah, I was looking at Bermuda, and you have a lot of the same age class turtles that we have here.
Okay.
As far as the greens, I saw like Bermuda is mainly a juvenile hotspot for turtles. They kind of come in, they hang out when they're teens, in their teens probably, munch on the seagrass beds, and the hawksbills I think had hit just reefs up pretty good. But then they go off as they reach adulthood. They go off somewhere else to breed and to nest. And that's kind of what we have here for our greens. They come in as juvies. That's all we ever really see is juveniles. Occasionally we might see a subadult, but usually it's just juveniles, and then they move on and to once they reach adulthood as well, and kind of move on. So they don't nest here, but we do have the Chemist Ridley that nests here. and we have occasional loggerheads that nest. And our trivia question last time that Jess brought up was how many eggs are in a clutch usually, and that's a sea
A
turtle's nest.
clutch. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
thinking motorcycle when I hear that, but
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Think of like a lady's clutch, like a purse, right?
yes, of course.
Yeah. And yeah, so it was what, Jess? Do you remember?
It was 100, right?
Yeah, it's around 100. Like I think it's like 90 to 100. So this year nesting season in Texas is, let's see, I wrote this. Yeah, it usually starts around April. April into I think July, mid-July. And so if you're around Texas or this part of the world and you're on the beach, keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for turtles crawling up and down the beach and on the beach at all. If there's a turtle on the beach, call it in because it shouldn't be on the beach unless it's nesting or injured. Just keep that in mind. And they don't just go up and sleep on the beach. So if it's just laying there, it's either nesting or it's injured or sick. So definitely call. I know the public has seen turtles before and they're like, oh, just kind of sitting, resting. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to come check it out because it shouldn't just be resting on the beach, not here. And so, yeah, nesting. What other questions did you have about nesting there, Wade?
You know what? I was really thinking about, Dr. Carly, my cliff jumping friend. She messaged me via text asking me a question. I'm like, ask it in the chat. Like, I think she's right here. So
Yeah.
we just got a little bit distracted, but it was interesting to, and I appreciate you, Cody, for doing your research into the Bermuda Turtle Project. As far as I know, there's only been one nesting event in like modern times. Otherwise, the turtles just don't nest here. We've got the greens, and they do their thing. And shout out to Michael. Michael's just dropped in a comment. We love our turtles in Texas. We do love our turtles in Bermuda too. I believe the turtles on some of our money. We definitely love turtles. I think it's safe to say, culturally, we've never been a turtle since 1612. We haven't consumed turtle. So culturally, in my day, we don't consume turtle. We do conserve them. We've got some of the oldest conservation legislation in this part of the world.
It's really impressive.
The sea turtles, yeah. I really would love to have Jennifer Gray on the show on a episode next season to talk about the Bermuda Turtle Project, which is under the Bermuda Aquarium Museum and Zoo umbrella of things. But feel free, guys, if you're interested to learn about what's going on in Bermuda. Google Bermuda sea turtles, and certainly the Houston Zoo is a wonderful resource as well. And you can reach out to Cody directly, I guess, if you have any questions. His contacts, or at least his social handles, are in the description. And I'm just going to pop up our display names. I think if I remove there we go.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Cody didn't put his little @ thing.
Oh, I didn't have an @ thing. Oh,
we're gonna fix that. We're gonna fix that. We want to make sure that if people have any questions, they're able to track you down. And I think it was easy for me to track you down, so it should be easy for most. Yeah, it's interesting how the turtles just don't nest here. I've got friends all across the Caribbean, namely Jamaica, where turtles nest all the time, and I'm like, wow, I really wish I've never witnessed it, but to see 100 turtles or so marching down, the beach to the ocean, I'm sure it's pretty spectacular. Now, Jess, did you have something queued up?
I do. I did need to pop it in there. This is from last time whenever I was saying that I actually I got to see a sea turtle nest hatching in Mexico whenever I was there for a study abroad course. And this was actually right after I'd finished my scientific with Cody. And I wanted to share that with you guys because this was a really cool experience.
Let's have it.
Hopefully my internet was, I don't know if you guys noticed, I think it was me that froze, but hopefully this plays smoothly. If not, I apologize, but I'll post it again later too. But I just wanted to share this with you guys. So it's a little grainy. This was taken 12 years ago, but it's also, you can see it's at dusk. So this nest
Low
was
light,
hatching right at dusk. We're not allowed to use flash photography. I can't remember if you mentioned, Cody, but whenever during nesting season, you want to make sure that if you have a property that faces beaches, that you are not leaving like lights on at night, because they're attracted. They'll go towards the light. So instead of going back towards the water, sometimes they'll go further onto land. But same thing with the little hatchlings. Oh, you can see the little guy who's like making it, the first one out. But it was so cool watching them come out. I can show you a couple pictures too. And we're all lined up and we're all getting pictures of it. But they don't move at all. So whenever they were starting to hatch,
Right.
and the first ones were like coming up out of the sand, they were just like statues. They were completely still. And I was like, is there something wrong? Like, what is? And they wait until the very last one has hatched, and then they all run together so they have a better chance of making it. Which I thought was really, it was really, really cool to watch, because you can just see them kind of like piling up a little bit. And then, oops, let me get this out of the way. So they're just like slowly like coming up out of the sand, but they're not moving at all. So they're just these like little, they look like little baby turtle statues. And then all of a sudden they just like and run together, like you guys saw in the video. But it was a really cool experience to get to.
Never heard
to
about
witness
the sort of
that.
static. They're statically rising up out of the
it's
sand, and then they
it
just
looks
go.
really weird. It looks like something's like wrong, because they're just not moving at all. And you're like, what?
Interesting.
Are they okay? And they're so dark. They were really, really dark. I had a hard time identifying. I can't remember. I'll have to go back and look because I wrote it down. But I'm not an expert identifier of of baby sea turtles. But they were so dark. Like it wasn't like, oh yeah, that's obviously a loggerhead. That's obviously
I was saying
green
species wise, yeah. There's
yeah.
I was going to make
hard.
this a little trivia bit, but 5. We're talking 5 different species. Yeah, Cody, 5.
Huh?
5 species of turtle we're talking about, right?
Yeah, in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yes and no.
5.
Like the nesting ones.
There's more than just 5, but only in the Gulf of Mexico we only have 5.
Nice, cool.
Yeah, there's actually a couple more.
Now I have a question from Dr. Carly. Are they brumating or is it different? That's the question.
Hold on one second. I'm gonna let my dog out real quick. He's gonna start barking.
No, that's cool. That's cool. We
Yeah,
don't mind the
Jess,
bark.
can you answer that one?
I'm not familiar with brumating. So we might have to wait until you get back. Sorry.
They're basically, they wait till like all their little buddies hatch, and then they all decide. Then they all take off.
Yeah.
It gives them a better chance of survival. Because
that's what brumating is.
Yeah. So they actually have a.
Before.
Yeah, it's a. Hello, dog. Yeah, hold on.
I think we want to know the dog's name now. The dog can join the chat as well. Give him his own phone, his own camera, bring him up. So it sounds as if what we're figuring out while Cody's dealing with the dog is that whole thing of they rise up in a bit of a static formation. This was from the cold state earlier. Okay. Cold state, brumating. Carly, we don't. Okay. Brumating. Am I Googling this?
Brumating. Go for it. I've never used that term.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar.
All right, here we go. Brumation is known as the hibernation for cold-blooded animals.
Oh, that's a hibernation state. No, they're not actually hibernating at that point.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be like toads during like dry seasons, like riverbeds or something would actually brumate and they hibernate in their den or whatever. But that's not actually what sea turtles are doing now.
Okay.
But I was going to mention that the you see how there's so many coming out of the nest, right? And you might think, well, how are they endangered? But the actual survival rate is very low. There's a lot of predators waiting for them out in the ocean. So that's why they all go out. They typically all hatch at once around the same time. They all go out, and remember, they have to make it a long time before they can actually reproduce again. So sea turtles, the Kemp's is like about 12 years of age until it can actually reproduce. greens and loggerheads are even longer. So you're looking at like maybe 25 to 30 years that they have to survive before they can actually reproduce. And so you can see with all the predators, as soon as they get out there, they're being attacked. They're being chased by mahi. Mahi love them.
I was gonna ask, man, like what's the known, the top 3 or so known predators of baby sea turtles? So mahi.
Yeah, mahi. My dog's going crazy about something right now.
We want to know what the puppy's name is, though.
Ridley. His name's Ridley.
Ridley.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
I didn't actually name him. A friend named him. I was looking for a name, got a pup, and they're like, "Oh, Ridley, you got to name it Ridley because you work with sea turtles." And I was like, "It's actually a cool name, and it sounds sort of Australian, and he's an Australian cattle dog,
Oh,
so
nice.
Ridley kind of works."
I have a surprise special guest. That's pretty dope. Shout out to Ridley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could bring him on camera if you like, man. We're chill.
He's downstairs now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like it, but big dog, right?
Yeah, he's pretty big.
Okay, nice. Yeah, turtles and more.
What about you mentioned your beach cleanup there. That's important for saving turtles, and that's something that everyone can do, when you go out.
Sure. I mean, certainly, in terms of calls to action for people in the community, divers are not to do their part, for the turtles, especially I would guess for nesting situations. Plastic pollution, marine debris is definitely no bueno. I'm sure we've seen so many people out there with video of baby turtles tangled up in different things, which is pretty gnarly. And yeah, I mean, and I know every place is different, everywhere is different, but in Bermuda, we're really encouraging people to really slow down, especially where seagrass and turtle grass is very prevalent, where we know turtles aggregate a lot. So Carly, if you're still on the live, so we actually explored an area called Daniel's Head near Somerset Long Bay and Cambridge Beaches. That area is really, really popular for green turtles. So we didn't really notice this because we weren't in boats, but there are markers in that area where we really encourage boaters to slow down. So even in rental boats, which are pretty common for visitors and locals alike, because I rent them too, it's just a matter of slowing down to 5 knots so that you have time to react if you see a turtle, but then the turtle has a chance to react as well. But yeah, turtles swallowing and ingesting plastic pollution, marine debris, or the babies getting tangled up in it if you are in an area in the world where they actually nest. But yeah, we all remember the turtle with the straw in its nose and that kind of thing. But we have our Bermuda Aquarium Museum and Zoo, which is Dr. Ian Walker is the curator at the aquarium, and often he will they will get turtles being rescued. They get calls, and of all the cleanups I've done, I've only had 2 where we've showed up on the site and found the turtle on the beach in distress, and we called the aquarium and they were able to come and get it, which is pretty great. And yeah, Mike, I'm going to put this comment up. And Michael, I got your comment about the flower gardens. I'll mention something in a bit. But Michael says, balloons are the worst. As a boat captain, I seem to see balloons on almost every trip. When I see people online releasing balloons for family members, it hurts. Yeah, balloons are pretty bad. All that stuff, like what comes front of mind for me, and we can talk about plastic pollution and marine debris quite extensively. Be great to have an episode somewhat dedicated to it, but rope and bits and bobs from the industrial and commercial fishing space, and a lot of it here at least is long range foreign debris. But yeah, seeing balloon releases, I'm kind of like, really, especially in this day and age where we sort of understand that what goes up must come down, and the balloon will burst and fall into the ocean most likely, especially in Bermuda. The thing will more likely than
and
not.
They're so dangerous too, because they're not just like other trash that's hard, especially if it's like a latex balloon that's flexible. If it gets trapped in an airway when you breathe, I mean, that's why they're dangerous to have around small children, is because whenever you breathe, it flexes with it, and so it's very hard to dislodge that. So sometimes it's because of ingestion, but sometimes it's actually like a choking hazard as well. Making sure that you guys are choosing a different way to honor a loved one,
Yeah,
and not by releasing something that could actually hurt other animals.
yeah. And
I never thought it was like a huge issue until I started working on the beach and then working with sea turtles, and then I see just how much debris comes in, and when you see a turtle wrapped up in a bundle of ribbon and balloons, and his flippers being constricted, and it looks really horrible, and then you're like, oh, we got to do something different. We got to do something different. And so I like, if you want to do that, if you want to release, I encourage people to use the paper, like the paper lantern or something like that, because that's biodegradable. It's just going to dissolve. If you want to do something like that, or I think supposedly they're making like biodegradable balloons now. I don't know if it's a big market, but that's much better. And
for sure.
So at the zoo, I know the zoo's completely like single-use plastic free now. In Houston here. So we just encourage everyone to reuse, recycle, upcycle, try to get a lot of uses out of something, and try to just reduce the amount of plastic, because it just hangs around. And unfortunately, I've seen all turtles, defecate all kinds of plastic debris and things, and have all sorts of issues. And especially the little greens that are feeding near shore. On the bottom, they seem to pick up a lot of it.
A little bit closer to the human source of the trash.
Goodness.
Yeah, it's crazy. On top of scuba diving and snorkeling and swimming, I love to stand up paddleboard. And like every time I go to the beach in one way or another, whether I'm far offshore or close to shore, like almost every single time I will see at least one balloon, and they look like food, because they're just floating there, and they look nice and yummy. And one of them gave me a scare one time, because it was a larger party. It was a Mylar balloon, and it was like a big star, and it had that blue that's kind of like the same blue that is life vests. And it was large. It was as big as like a adult abdomen, and I saw it from like far off, so I had to like paddle on over there, and I was like, it's either a balloon or maybe a person. I hope it's not a person. It was not, but there's 2 times that's happened to me. The one time was with the Mylar balloon looking kind of like a life vest, and the other time was a giant floaty flamingo that had gotten blown way offshore, and from a distance, it's circular, and it could be like a faded red, and that's a lot of times what like the emergency rafts are made out of, or look like. So from a distance, until we got closer, I was like, is this an emergency raft? Like, what is this? We were out long lining for work, and
wow.
you're like, I don't want to. I was like,
deflated flamingo, like pool toy, basically.
Yeah, but it was huge. It was one of those big like raft ones, but the little flamingo head was down, so you just saw the circular part, and I was like, what are we about to come across? Like, what are we about to have to deal with right now? And then it's just this like giant pool toy. So it was better than it could have been, but it's one of those where it gets like your brain going. You're like, all right, like what type of situation I'm about to come onto?
Yeah.
Like, oh no, it's just giant trash.
Been on the boat going along, especially like going against the swell or the tide, and things are kind of washing towards you, and you never know what you're gonna find. But this conversation has definitely turned into like the saving turtles and more bit, because certainly plastic pollution is a huge threat to everything, sort of including us, right? If we eat fish, the fish eat the plastic has toxins, and it all bioaccumulates, and we end up eating that. So it's really about saving sea turtles, saving marine life, and ultimately saving ourselves. I just believe ocean health and human health are very tightly interconnected, and we're all connected one way or the other, whether we realize it or recognize it or not. And it all matters, and all of our actions matter, I believe. And one less lionfish on the reef, one less glow stick or bottle cap that's off the beach, and hopefully properly disposed of wherever you may be in the world. Hopefully you have some type of a system that facilitates you disposing of your trash properly, whatever that may be. Here in Bermuda, we still do a waste to energy program where we actually incinerate, and we've got a landfill. So we're doing the best with what we have, but I believe anywhere can certainly do better. I mean, there's a lot of things going on that I could speak to. We do have a single-use plastics ban that's happening, and we will be refitting our incinerator to just be a better incinerator. But we're also trying to just reduce our waste. I think Bermuda just creates more waste than most places. So
And
we
that's
need to
such an
tighten that here.
important R in the reduce, reuse, recycle is the refuse.
Yep,
And
just
I think
refuse,
that's
man.
one that I don't know. I think also sometimes like the way we're conditioned is to like if someone gives you something for free, like you accept it. But like at a store, like if you don't need a bag, don't get a bag. If you don't need the free cup that they're giving away, don't take it that you're just going to recycle or throw away later.
Yep.
Like just don't accept it. And just those kind of getting
Yeah,
into the
just
habit of saying no sometimes.
yeah, for real. And I mean, I get Indian takeout, and now a lot of places don't include the cutlery, and I oftentimes like no bag. And the thing is, I think someone coined the phrase, and it's new to my vocabulary, is no use plastic, where you'd get the plastic, like the trifecta: fork, spoon, knife, napkin, in the plastic bag, in the bottom of your plastic bag where your takeout is. That's the worst case scenario, really. And then
Yeah.
your food's in plastic too. But then, you take your food out and you plate it at home, and then you throw in the trash the bag and the utensils. So you never actually use them, but it ends up in the waste stream. So zero use. So we certainly want to eliminate, zero use and single use. And refusing it really is a really important step. We do have in the house Fernando. What a throwback.
Guest speaker from season
Brr,
1.
brr, 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 brr. Fernando has a comment, and it's up on the screen. And I'll read it for you guys that are maybe listening to us on podcast. Fernando says, at the Houston Aquarium, they have a very interesting set of aquariums, one with jellyfish, the other with plastic bags floating. It is shocking how similar they look underwater. And for those of you that don't know, that are on the live, turtles do eat jellyfish.
Mhm.
So that's like a bad situation. The,
Mm.
the turtle eating a plastic bag, thinking it's jellyfish, and it ending up in its inside of it. So, Fernando, thank you so much for that. I think about that quite a
That's
bit.
true. It's true in real life too. That's actually how my cousin got stung by a jellyfish. She's from a landlocked state, so she's not used to being in the ocean. And whenever we were kids, we were playing out in the waves and having fun. And she thought she was doing good by grabbing by grabbing a plastic bag to bring it in, and it was not a
Ah,
plastic bag; it was a jellyfish. So she
that's
had
a
a
that's a
very
terrible story.
unfortunate experience of some of the creatures in the ocean.
Yeah, that's no bueno. And I mean, here we've got
Yeah.
the Portuguese man of war,
Oof.
where
No,
we
thank
call it
you.
the blue bottle because she looks like a blue bottle floating on the surface. And I was pointing out to Carly and her mom, it's cool to
Do
look
not
at,
touch
but it's
that.
got these tentacles that could be short, they could be long, but you don't want to touch those tentacles. And I think Carly wanted to study or has studied toxicology. So we're looking at looking into that stuff a little bit deeper than I normally would have, but it was pretty cool. I kind of like the look of the Portuguese man of war. Doing like a cool. Someone posted a picture online of a cool over under, a really tight close up of the man of war, and it was really cool. It was actually pretty captivating. Guys, if you are on the live and you have any questions for Cody, Jess, myself, or you want to share a story, let us know. I'm not fiddling with my mic too much because when I move it around, it's disconnecting. I don't know what's going on with that. So I'm just going to leave it there. Carly, the Monterey Bay Aquarium has a similar display. It was wild. That's cool. That's cool. We're getting down. We're kind of getting down to wrapping up the show. It seems like we could have used another half hour, Cody. Goodness.
Yeah.
Like, where'd the time
Yeah.
go?
Oh,
I
I
rambled
do
for
have
the
an update from our
give us an update.
last time. I said that we partner with lady in the Galapagos, and she works with what's the name of this project? Ecological Project International. She takes like kids, school age kids and stuff like that in the Galapagos, is teaching them about conservation. She teaches them how to look for sea turtle nests, and they actually go out and find the nests on the Galapagos, and they will put barriers around the nest and protect them, and they'll sort of watch them until they hatch. They actually, she last I talked to her, they'd already protected like 15 nests there in the Galapagos, and so it's pretty cool. Like, people around the world are excited about sea turtles, and so I just wanted to share that and give a shout out to them. That's one of our wildlife saving partners from the zoo, and super nice lady. If you're ever in the Galapagos and you're around and you see her, say hi. I know her dad's famous for working on a lot of the islands that a lot of the research goes on, and some of the vets are my boss actually goes down and checks out the Galapagos tortoises like every year, and so it's pretty cool. I've been trying to get him to sneak me in his baggage on one of those trips. But,
There you go. You're like, why is his bag so heavy? You're like, no
I'll be
reason.
like, I'll look at I'll help with the sea turtles. You can go look at the tortoises. We'll have a blast. But one day, maybe.
That's super cool. Yeah, man. I'm just kind of, I know my energy kind of switched up because I'm kind of like, wow, last episode of the season.
Yeah, congrats, y'all.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's been wild. Jess, thank you so much for being on this ride with me for such a long time. And shout out to everyone that's still on the live. We got Carly kind of poking at me. She's saying you also have not been stung by that. I did let Carly and her mom know. I have not. I cannot speak from experience on what a Portuguese man of war sting feels like. I've been just smart enough to avoid it. But maybe a little piece of me is like, I really want to know what it feels like, just so I know. But no,
Careful what you wish
I
for.
really don't. I'm like, I got health insurance, I got life insurance. I don't want to go into that shock, anaphylactic shock, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Because you just never know. But yeah, just be safe. Avoid anything like that can potentially sting you if you can. I did snorkel a bit in shallow water, and I watched like a fish pick at one of those upside down jellies. So I was picking at it, and so its tentacles were kind of just free floating in the water column. And I do remember like getting out of the water and feeling like a burn, like a line burn kind of going down my face. And I was like, I think the tentacle touched me.
I've got that at a safety stop. There was a jellyfish up at the surface, and it got caught up in the prop of the boat, so it got cut into a bunch of little pieces.
Oh boy!
So it wasn't like a big, like a huge, like a jellyfish just like got stuck across me, but it was like all of the little broken pieces of tentacle were then. And the prop was getting it like washed up in the water as we were hanging on to the safety stop line, and then it just dragged across my, because luckily I was wearing gloves, boots, all of that, so it was just like my neck and my face, like I got it on my like upper lip and like my cheeks and my neck,
just
and
burning, just like
and you're on your safety stop, you can't leave, you're just hanging out there. I was like, well, this is the best 3 minutes of my life.
Sheesh. Wow.
Luckily, it was not a man of war though. It was like a
different thing. Yeah.
But it still wasn't fun. I don't recommend it.
Yeah, that's just an unfortunate situation. But I'm happy it was minor, all things considered.
Yeah. It didn't scar. We're good.
It's good.
I've never been stung while diving. I just sailing. I've been stung sailing. I've been stung just at the beach, but never while diving. So look down on that one.
That's good. That's good.
It's nice having that. That's why even when warm water, a lot of times I'll make sure that I'm always wearing some sort of protection, both for sun protection, but also from stings as well. So even if it's just like a little dive skin, as we get man of wars here as well. I don't know if you knew that, Weldon, but around May, which is when my birthday is. So I'd always want to go to the beach for my birthday, and there's like man of wars wash up on the beach. I'm like, maybe I'll like hang out on the shore instead of in the water.
Indeed. Guys, I gotta go, which means we gotta wrap up the show. Shout out to all of you guys that have tuned in for the season, all of our guests. Cody, I'm just gonna keep you here, man. We're gonna end the show with you on stage. Shout out to all of our guests, sponsors, supporters, our viewership, our listenership, Bermuda International and Blue Wave. Thank you so much for all the love. Without you guys, we would not be able to do this so flawlessly, from the middle of the Atlantic, and from Texas, live every Wednesday night for the last 10 weeks. Jess, my hat is off to you. You've been a phenomenal co-host. Thank you so much for all your energy. Cody, thank you so much for closing out the season with us, brother. Looking forward to already having you back in season 3 whenever we may, kick that off. I think we've got so much to cover.
Yeah, thanks. Anytime.
Yeah. I think we are out of time.
Trivia questions?
Before we go, we got to do our trivia. Answers for trivia questions.
Real quick, 21%. Shout out to Magic and some of you guys early on at the beginning of the show. That Guardian, Keel, you got in as well. got some different answers, and I'm just scrolling through. We've got 20.9. I think that's about right. Magic says 22. That's about right. Cool. Jess.
Yeah, so lionfish were first spotted out at the Flower Garden Banks back in 2010, and so it was actually by a former member of my my lab that I used to work in. So when they were out there, they were doing some cool projects, and they saw lionfish, and they're like, "What? No, I'm not actually seeing a line. Like these are experts and like fish, and they know what should or shouldn't be there. Like, no, this
2010.
can't be it. Is it?" And then it started becoming more and more, and then they really kind of started to take over a little bit, which is why we have the Lionfish Invitational. And I'll share the link for Michael mentioned that you have to apply to be able to go on that. So if any of you guys out there are interested in coming out to the Lionfish Invitational, I will drop the link for the application in the comments.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Cody, salute. I appreciate you. Jess, love you. Thank you so much for your energy.
And our wonderful host, Weldon. We cannot do the show without you. So,
hey, I'm just her. You guys know me. Like, shout out to StreamYard for just having this wonderful platform that allows us to have this brought to you guys so easily. Carly, appreciate you, Dr. Carly, and certainly Magic and JD and Fernando and everyone that's been joining us consistently over the past 10 or 20 weeks that we've been doing this. Guys, I'm going to queue up the TBI a little bit, and I will see you next season. Until then, have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. Hope you and your family are doing well and are healthy. And hey, one day at a time, out here. Until next time, you guys, we are gone.
My name is Weldon Wade. I'm an avid ocean advocate, diver, and community activist. Well, for me, what I love doing the most is bringing the community together. I love hosting beach cleanups and lionfish calling events, bringing businesses and the community in general together to unite for a common purpose, which would, in the cases that I'm involved in, is removing trash from the ocean. I mean, the ocean really connects us all, and connecting with people globally has been important to getting my message out there. It's just been a wonderful experience connecting with schools and students to talk about the problems that our ocean faces. And it's great to get together with other ocean heroes to talk about what we're doing and getting our message across. I believe one of the cornerstones to protecting the ocean is human connection and awareness. So the more people are aware of how important the ocean is to our health and our well-being, that's very valuable.
All right, guys, we are really gone this time. No after show. Jess and I are going to take a break and bring you guys season 3 with some really awesome surprises and upgrades, but we're going to bring you that consistency and flow that you've gotten to know over the past while. Yeah, that's it. We're jumping off.
Bye, guys.
We didn't want to go. We're going. I promise.